Hello everyone, if you are new to yam farming, this video is a must watch for you. Even if you have never farmed yam before, or you are a commercial yam farmer, or even a backyard yam farmer, whatever category you belong to, this video we have divided yam farming into various steps, and we have the part 1, part 2 and part 3 of this video. So you don't want to miss any step, because with this you can become a pro. So let's go right into it. Timing is the most crucial factor when you want to get over 400% of returns on investment in yam farming. In this video, I've broken this timing process into 7 crucial points that you must take note of, from even before the yam is planted to the storage of the yams. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on any of these points, especially point 6 and number 7. I want you to get a pen and a paper, because you will need them to take down some notes. Before we delve into these 7 points, I want to discuss something very crucial, which forms the foundation and the basis of our discussion today. It is the life cycle of yam. I'm going to be taking white yam as a case study for what we are going to do today. I want us to take a look at this diagram. Now, this white yam takes about 6 to 9 months from germination all through to the first and the second harvest. So it is important we look at the stages. Stage 1 is the stage of germination, and it takes about a month. That is followed by the vegetative or the foliar stage. This is a very, very crucial stage, because it is the stage where you have formation of beautiful leaves. The vines are luscious as at then. This stage of vegetation or foliar formation takes about 2 months. This third stage, which is the stage of tuber formation, is a very, very crucial stage, because it is that stage where the tuber actually increases in size. The fourth stage is actually the stage of senescence. It starts from around the 5th month down through to the end of the life of the yam. But what we must understand about this stage, this is the most critical stage if you are going to maximize your profit. This timing is very key. So I would like you to keep this diagram in mind, because as we are going to be explaining the timing of this various processes, I will be referring to this same diagram. Number 1 point is timing of the land preparation or planting of the yam. This process is actually divided into two. Two, because there are early planters and late planters, or there are situations whereby you can plant early and you can plant late. I'll tell you the importance of these two categories. I do both of them. Now, the reason why I do both, because I harness the opportunities in both. The first one is the early planters, and usually starts from around November all through to February. Now, let me tell you the advantage of planting early around this time I've just mentioned, depending on the location where you are. For me, I like to plant around from January down through to February. The reason is very simple. I will be able to get my yam out on time, 6 months time, when people will really need new yam. By so doing, I'll be able to maximize profit. You can see we are already getting to the point. Planting early is very, very key. So there are also the late planters that start to plant around April or late April all through to May. Now this one, if you calculate 6 months time, is going to come out around towards the end of the year. I also do so because I get yams this way all through the year, and I can save this set of yams for when the yams are very, very expensive. In order to be able to key into this timing, what I do is to start making my heaps. If I'm planting in the ground or I'm planting in the soil, directly into the soil, I'm going to start making my heap as at when the rain just finished in that year. And this is usually around November, where the soil is still soft. So it enables my workers to actually make very good heap. Between November and December, in my area, the ground is still soft. I can make my heaps. I want you to follow me, because these methods are methods that have been working for me. So what I do after making my heap, I will just plant my yams, because one thing is very key. You must plant yams that have broken dormancy. Don't even try to put any yam that has not broken dormancy into the soil. You may end up losing, and that will be bringing down your return on investment. Number 2 point is the timing of the mulching. Mulching is an agro practice that is very important when we are talking about yam farming. It is important you mulch, because as at this period of early planting, the sun is usually mulch. And because of this, you will need to use materials like dry banana leaves or grass to mulch properly. And when you are mulching, make sure you put a weight on top of it, so that wind will not blow it off for the yam that you have planted to be exposed. Still on the issue of mulching of yams that you planted early, there's one very important point you must take note of. There is need for it to germinate. So when the rain starts around that earlier part of the year, you might need to remove the mulch around maybe March, April, when the rain has started falling, so that you can get germination of this yam. For those who will plant around May or late April down, which is the late planting, I want to assure you that you don't have any problem with mulching. You can as well just stop the mulching or don't mulch because the rain would have started, so that the yam can easily germinate. Number 3, the timing of the staking of your yam. Now, I want you to understand something. Yams are climbers and you have to stake. This is a very, very crucial stage. But I want to quickly point out something. If you are staking, take note, this is the practice that have been working for me. I normally use very long bamboo of up to about 15 feet above the ground, and it is usually around 2 feet deep into the ground. Now that is the point I'm going to be talking about, the 2 feet into the ground. The reason is because I want the stake to be very, very strong, because it's going to carry a whole lot of vine, and of course it is important that it remains strong. Now, for you to achieve this, your staking must be done when your ground is still soft. So when your ground is still soft, just put your stake and wait for even the germination to occur. So the longer the stake, the bigger your tubers. The longer your stake, the better production. Your tubers will be larger. For me, I normally like putting my stake before even the yams start to germinate, or when they are just germinating. They have not started climbing. Most people just leave and they stake when the yams are already falling down, the growing vines are already falling down. That will stress your vine, and once that stresses the vine, productivity is reduced. All you need to do, stake on time. When the vine comes out, it will just go. You can now eventually direct it to the stake that is already existing. That way there will be no stress on the vine, and before you know it, your vines have gotten to the top. It does not even stop them, because they need that time to grow. But sometimes when you now begin to allow them to crawl on the ground, sometimes they tangle on even things. For you to untangle and all that, you end up breaking the edges, and that will take another time for it to regerminate again. You are losing time. Apart from you losing time and the yam losing time to grow, there's something else you must consider. If you allow these vines to tangle and without following the stake on time, it will increase your labor cost, because you have to call people to help you untangle, and it will be wasting your own personal time and the time of the growing vine. Number 4 is the timing of your fertilization. The timing of fertilization is very, very crucial. Let's go back to the graph. I normally like fertilizing at the end of stage 1 and at the beginning of stage 3. That way it will help the vegetative stage, so that the leaves can grow very, very well, because the more leaves, the more the size of the tuber. Then the next stage is the stage of tuber formation. That's where I will fertilize at the beginning of the tuber formation period. That time, enough food for larger tubers to be formed. Number 5 point is the timing of the weeding. Why do we weed? We weed because we want to remove competitors, things that compete against the yams from really doing very well. And that is why we weed. I have a way I time my weeding. Ideally, if you are farming yam on heap or mounds, you normally weed 3 times before the harvest. The first one is after the first month, when the weeds are just coming up. It's about to enter the second stage. So after the first stage, you weed. Then the next thing is that after the second stage also, you weed. The way I do it, after the third stage, I also weed. These 3 would have helped me both for the vegetative period, the tuber formation period, and will also help me with the seed yam formation period. But if you are farming yam in bags, it's a different ball game entirely. Well, the cost of weeding is relatively reduced. For example, like you see some of our yams in bags, we can just, of course, remove like this. You just hand pick like this. It's not very difficult. Although these ones are already dried up, just for us to do the harvesting. Number 6 the timing for the milking or the first harvest, I can assure you this is a very crucial point. And this point is where a lot of people miss it, where they just get it all wrong. And it is the part that will give you the most amount of returns on investment. I want us to go back to the graph because this point is a very crucial point. If you look at the graph, there's a plateau phase between the 5th month and the 6th month. That is where the size of the tuber gets to the highest. It does not actually grow more than that. Even if you leave it for another 2-3 months, it will never grow more than that. All that is happening around this 5th to 6th month is just maturation. So what do? At this point, this is where you must milk, because if you must get your very gigantic seed yam, which is a win-win situation for you, this is the best time. Now look at what I do. Ideally, 5 to 6 months, the leaf will start to turn yellow. At least you will see 1 or 2 leaves already turning yellow, especially the lower ones, like you can see here. The lower ones already turning yellow. That is the right point for you to cut the head of your tuber, of your yam, remove the tuber, or you leave it, whatever method you want to use. Then you allow seed yam to develop. Now, I want you to understand something very, very critical. Your seed yam development depends on the greenness of the leaves. The greener it is from the 5th month, the better. So don't leave them to start getting yellow. What I normally do at the 5th month, I carry my instrument and I harvest and I check the tuber. I'll show you what I mean by that. Then after that, if I see that I'm not so satisfied, I leave for another 2 weeks, not beyond that, because anything beyond that, your leaves will start falling off. And when your leaf starts falling off, your seed yam will not be large. I just harvested this one today, or rather I just did my first harvesting, first milking. It's just 5 months, so I have done the milking. If you see the ground is very, very red, and it shows that I've just harvested. But let me show you the tubers. So these were some of my yams that we harvested today, that I just harvested from that place. Now look at the tuber. As at 5 months, they are well developed. But there's something I want to show you uniquely. This is how you know that your yam is already fully developed. It can never develop more than this. It is the tip that is the key, that is very important. For you to know that your yam is ready, you see a brownish tip, more like the stop point. It's like a scarred navel, so to speak. Now, this tip has a unique color, light yellow. That is when you will know that your yam is already developed. Now, if as at the 5th month, I uproot one of the yams and I discover that the tip is already yellow like this, I am done. There's no way this yam can increase more than this. The only way I will leave the yam a little bit for another 2 weeks to get to 5 months and 2 weeks is if here is white. I see everything here is white, but immediately it becomes light yellow. It's not going to make any difference again in size. The next thing that it will move to, the next color it will move to will be brown. Let me just give you an example of something like this. So something like this, you see, this one is fully brown. So this one was even long overdue. If you can even see the yam, some of the parts were already budging to try to form seed yams and all that. If you can see now, this place, they will easily break dormancy because the yam was well overdue. That's why I wanted to show us. Okay, this is the yam I harvested about 3 weeks ago when it was exactly 5 months. You can see the stage of senescence. The leaves are now getting more yellow, but this is close to about, a month now, 3 weeks to a month. Let me show us the tubers that is forming inside the ground. I took the liberty of digging it out so that we'll see. You can see this, the huge tuber. I'm careful so that I will not detach the root that is anchoring it. You can see the tuber. This is where I cut it. You can see the tuber already forming. See this white tuber. In fact, the tuber is almost getting close to full maturity because some parts are already having this dark spot at the more like the navel. Now look at this other new bulb that is forming. This is very huge. So in about 1 month time, this one will be fully
matured, when the whole vine would have fully dried. So I'm going to have to cover back. This is what I am telling us, that when we milk on time, we are going to have very, very large seed yams. So one more thing, let me show you the already harvested seed yam that I harvested. This is a particular seed yam, was harvested today, but we milked it about 2.5 months ago after we have removed the tubers. The tubers that we removed, some of them were far larger than this one. This one is about close to 2 feet, if not up to. Of course, this one is a very large tuber. You can imagine after removing something like this, you now have something like this. And this is even a smaller one. These are the most powerful set of seed yam. For those who are farmers, they know quite well. You see, if you can see, it has spots where it's going to germinate. With this one, I will not just plant this one. This one is rather big. I will share it into 2. And each portion will still give me one tuber in the long run. This one I will just put only one. Like this one will give me fantastic tubers. Sometimes the advantage of this is that they give multiple tubers that are very big. So now let's do the analysis, just a brief analysis for you to know that over 400% return on investment is what we are talking about here. Imagine that I planted something like this, maybe not even up to this one. I got this one first harvest. If I'm going to sell this yam, it's not going to be less than 2,000 naira, at least in our currency. Now, imagine that I bought this for like 500 or 400 naira, or sometimes 300 naira. Then I've sold this one for about 1,000 naira, 2,000 naira, which is 3 times the price of this one, already 300%, plus or minus cost and all that. Then this one, there's no way this seed yam can be less than 500 naira. Imagine getting something eventually of 2,500 from something you bought for 300 naira. And imagine that you have it. And this seed yam is at no cost. You just cut the head, leave it for some other, because you understood the timing and the appropriate way of doing it. Number 7, timing of storage. This is very critical because a lot of tubers of yams, seed yams, can get spoiled if not properly stored, and the farmer can run at a very, very big loss. But your ability to be able to store will also enhance your returns on investment. And here are some of the vital tips I use. First of all, it depends on when you planted. Did you plant early or the other? If you planted early, kudos, because you are going to get your tubers out when yam is very, very expensive. So the majority of your tubers, my advice is this, and this is what I do, is to sell and take them to the market. Your profit will be very, very high, because at this point, a lot of persons don't even have yams in the market. That is one point. So you have little to store. Now, what I normally do when I have shipped my yams, many of them to the market, the leftover I store, but there might be need to store temporarily. And this is what I want to share with us. The key thing is that when you have harvested, store in a cool, dry, airy place. That is your best bet. And I want to show us what I mean by that. Now, this is an area where I want to construct my barn. You can see these live woods. They are all in tandem, 1, 2, 3, 4, and all that. So what I intend to do is to temporarily store here because it's shady. To also make it shady, I'm going to construct something and I'm going to put palm fronds here so that this place will be cool. Another thing you can do is to store under plantain or banana plants if you have. I'll show us some of the seed yams that I stored there. Now, this is what I normally like to do. I'll take my tubers. You know, the tuber has the head part and the tip part. I get a flat board that is dry. What I do is to put the head down and the tail up. I arrange them like this. This is the best way to arrange them in an airy, dry place. The rationale behind this is very simple. The head and the tail, the tail contains more water, so gravity definitely will help me. And what I intend to achieve is to let these tubers shrink a little for about 3 weeks to 1 month before I finally transfer them to the barn. If I transfer them to the barn like this, there is a possibility, because of the water content, that they are going to experience rot. Rot is something very key and something you should watch out for when you are storing yams. It's a very devastating thing. I have lost a lot of yams to rot, so I'm very careful. So this is what you do. You just arrange them all, and once you arrange them all, you are good to go. So these are some of my seed yams I'm going to use to plant in the next season. What I did was, after harvesting them, I just put them like this with their head down in a very cool place, in a shady place. After now, I'm going to transfer them to the barn where they are going to stay for some time and break dormancy. From there, I will now start planting them. So this is how I temporarily store my yams, under a shady place. Now that we have temporarily stored, there is need for us to move to the barn. The barn is one of the best traditional way of storing yams. There are many other methods, but my preferred is the barn because it affords me of the opportunity of having them well aerated and in a cool, dry place. You can actually store yams up to about 3 or 4 months or even 6 months in the barn. Today we are going to be demonstrating how to make yam heaps. We have been talking about yam heap, but today we want to actually demonstrate how to make it from start to finish. With me is this special instrument, locally made for making yam heap. Of course, what we are demonstrating is the manual way of making, the traditional way. So I'm sure there are mechanized instruments for this, but this is our own local way of doing this. This is a very unique hoe. If you see, it's slanted at about an angle 45. This is the very large form of it. So many persons prefer different types. This is also another type. This is a smaller version of this. Some persons prefer this and some prefer this. We are going to be demonstrating how the heap is made from start to finish. I'm not going to be the one doing this because I have my wonderful staff here, Mr. Godwin from Nasarawa State. He's an expert in this, so he has given us his consent to make this video. He said he's going to be demonstrating how it is made from start to finish. So I want you to look at it. It's something you can do. I can do it by myself, but he is a very good expert. He's the one that have been designing all these that you have seen all around. So he's very efficient. He's very good at it. So, but we want to show you how it is done from start to finish. So just follow us as we'll be making this heap. So, Mr. Godwin, over. So we'll just be looking at him. If there's a movement, is going about 360 degrees. So I'll follow him as it goes. You will tilt and drop, tilt, drop, tilt, drop, and of course the heap will be formed. So observe the way he's tilting his hoe and dropping the sod. Okay, so we get to the other side and keep on heaping up on that same spot until the big cone of heap is formed. So you can see that he starts from a particular point and goes round and eventually end up at that point. So that is how this whole heap, if you observe the height of the heap, is up to about 4 feet in height. Same way with all this, and it's very good for yam tuber formation and makes it very easy to harvest in the long run. So that is how to make heap from start to finish. Mr. Godwin, thank you, sir. Yeah. Today I'm going to be demonstrating the best methods of planting yams on the heap, various methods, and I'll show you the one that is the best, my own personal opinion, and I'll give you reasons why. Many persons don't really know how to plant yams in the heap. So we're going to be demonstrating today how yams are planted in the heap. I'm going to be demonstrating 5 different methods for 3 major types of seedlings. This is a mini tuber. It's a seedling. But I'm going to be demonstrating how to plant this in 3 ways. This is another form of seed yam that we've demonstrated before. We've even showed us how to get this in our previous videos. Please do well to watch that video. Then this is another form of seedling. It's a large tuber that was split into sets. So this is a particular kind of set. You see, there are exposed surfaces and there is the surface that can grow. We are going to be showing us how these ones can be placed in the ground, but I will start with the mini tuber. There are 3 different ways to plant this. You can either plant it vertically. It will just be slanting a little because the vine is going to grow upwards against gravity, obviously. You can plant it in such a way that it will be horizontal, and you can plant it in a reverse form such that the head is tilting downwards, whereas the tail will be going upwards. I'll be demonstrating the 3 as we get along. There are instruments that you need for planting in heaps. You can either use a shovel, which is very easy, or the special hoe that was used to design the heap. This is very, very unique. In less than 1 hour, I can use this to plant about 200 heaps of yams in less than an hour because it's very, very fast, especially when you know exactly what to do. So I'll be demonstrating with the 2 instruments. In case you don't have this, of course, shovels are always readily available. So method 1 is to just put your shovel or your spade into the heap so that the whole blade will be embedded in the soil at an angle, and just open up. You open up, then you place your tuber down in the vertical form. This is what I have done. The vertical method, then I will just close up. For some persons, they will just add a little extra soil, and that is it. For dry weather or during the dry season, all you just need to do is to just take debris and mulch. When you mulch, you take a little bit of soil and place on top. The purpose of this is to prevent wind from blowing it off. That is just enough, especially during the dry season. You can also use banana leaves. We have uploaded videos like that before. You can watch our videos on that. But during the rainy season, this is around early May, I don't need this anymore. So it has already started raining. I'll just get that out of the way so that rain can come on it and it can start growing on time. That's method 1. But this method has a disadvantage. This is heap. I will show us in a few seconds the disadvantage of this. With time, the rain can wash off this, and when it starts growing, the roots will be exposed because the head of the tuber you planted is facing upwards. So once it washes down, it can easily be exposed. Some person said put it deep down. Yes, some person may not even know how to gauge how deep you should put. But well, if you want to choose this method, the minimum you should go is about 5 inches deep down, and it should not be, of course, more than 7 inches deep down. This one has the advantage of having enough room to actually form tuber and other, but there's also a disadvantage of the tuber not getting rotten on time when it has started growing, because without the tuber getting rotten, you won't really have tuberization forming. But I want to know your opinion on this for those who have experience with this. This is method 1. Now, having seen the disadvantage of the first method, I want to show us another method that is a little bit advantageous compared to the one I've earlier demonstrated. Same way, you can use your shovel. I used my shovel the first time, but I also want to demonstrate how to use this instrument. You see that the hole is angulated such that you can just put it in once and open up. This time around, I'm going to plant in a horizontal manner, such that my tuber will just be horizontal this way, the vine will go this way, and all the roots will spread radially, while the tuber will be formed this way. So this is what I will do. I'll just place it horizontal and cover. This way, I'm able to bury the head a little deeper than the first one. And of course, rain washing this topsoil will not easily expose the root. But there is a better way, which I have discovered. And this is my best actually. This is the third method. I'll go to this third heap. This is what I'm going to do again. I'll do this, open it up, but this time around, I'm not going to put it vertical so that the head will be facing up. I'm not going to do horizontal. I'm going to face the head a little downward. The vine will still grow this way, but I'll tell you the advantage. The advantage is that the head is more deeply buried. Even if you don't get the amount of inches you are supposed to, go deep and all that, it will still help you preserve the head, so that the roots that are going to be formed will be deeply buried. No matter the amount of washing of your heap and all that, the root will hardly ever be exposed. Some persons may find this funny, but this is actually the best. With the tail tilting up, even if the tail is exposed, it's still advantageous because it can easily get rotten, and of course you have large room for tuberization below. So this is the best way to place your seedling of such nature. So I'm going to put it down, the head face down, not completely vertically down, but slightly down. So this is what I will do. I'll cover. Sometimes the tail can even be exposed. Once the rain comes, it will wash it and it might even be exposed. I'll show you a video soon of the exposure that I got from this after the vine has started growing. But yet the head were not exposed. All the yams, the heads, they were not exposed. And I'll have the advantage of having good tuberization and all that. So for me, this is my best method. This third method is my best method. I want to know your own opinion. What works best for you? Now, there are other two forms of seedling. This is very easy to plant. Somehow, you know where where this is going to sprout from. All you just need to do is to just open up and bury a little bit down. You don't really need to consider the orientation because it's not so long. Just bury it down slantly. You can make it a little bit slanted so that the vine will just go up, just as if you are planting with the first method. That's what you do with this. There is no hard and fast rule about that type of seedling. But this last split set is very important you understand how this is placed. If not, you might lose your seedling if you don't know how best to do this. How do we do this? Very simple. This part that is brown, in quote, the back of the set, not the cut surface, this brown part should always face down, make contact with the soil, and this part will face up, such that the contact, this place is protected because that's where the sprout is going to come out from. If you do it the other way around, it will easily start getting rotten before it even sprouts, and of course that will make you lose your seed. So for this, you just open up. This part will place deep down before you cover up.
Now this is an example of a tuber that was planted with the head up. You can see that you have exposed root because rain has washed off the topmost soil on the heap. So this is a disadvantage because this yam will not really do well unless you have to look for soil and cover this whole root so that the root will not dry out and then the vines will not be getting enough nutrients. So this is a disadvantage of plant. I want to show us the advantage of burying the head down and slanting the seedling upward such that the tail might jut out a little. If the soil covers it, fine, but the head should be buried more into the soil, deep into the soil compared to the tail. The roots of the growing vines, they are buried inside the heap. Unlike the one you plant with the head up and the tail down, that one would easily get exposed. The roots will easily get exposed when water comes.
So viewers, these are the 5 methods of planting 3 different sets of seedling. I hope you have learned a lot from today. Remember, there are various types of seedlings and there are different methods of planting them. Hello guys, today we are going to show us an easy way to stake, to create the stake holes for your yams. These are our yam heaps, but we want to create holes for staking. There's an easy method of doing this, especially during the wet season where you know that this ground is soft. Instead of you getting an instrument, just get something like this, a straight stick from a live wood, usually about, depending on the size of holes and what you are using to stake, usually about 4 inches to 5 inches in diameter. This is basically, it is a round stick I'm going to use to create round holes for my stake. Instead of you to get instrument and you start laboring, this is a it's an easy method. It's a very easy method for staking, and that's what we're going to be demonstrating. It doesn't take so much. Within a couple of seconds you are already done doing your creating your stake holes, so that you just stake and so on. It's easier this way rather than using instrument, although these are all still largely traditional, so there are probably other new methods, but this is a DIY, low cost and easy to do. So let's demonstrate it. So I've carved the tip of the stick like a torpedo, you can see, and it's advisable to choose what is taller than you that is going to do the staking, because you are going to create a hole that is about 2 feet deep. So you can just mark the point. For me, I'm used to it, so I can actually guess where 2 feet will be up to, so that your stake will be deeply buried in order for wind not to easily just pull it out. So this is how we go about it. I'm going to be doing it now. So as you dig it down, you try to widen the hole. So I'm done. If you check, this is the length of the stake hole, and our stake can easily just go in. So let me get the stake and put it in, and that will be all. So this is the wood I'm going to use for staking. I've uploaded some other videos where you use bamboo. Actually my best is bamboo, but I'm using this because I've already cleared my bush and I got this, so I'm still using what I got from my bush. Rather than burn them, I just selected them and I'm going to use it. So I left the branches because to be very, very good for my yam vines to follow and then increase the surface area like we have said in our earlier videos. So do well to check out our other videos on staking. But for this, I'll just take it down. And cover. So I'm done with my staking. So you can see if we calculate all this time, it's not so much. It doesn't take so much, not up to a minute for you to actually do maximum 2 minutes. You have created your stake hole, usually during the wet season. But during the dry season, of course, it's not possible to do that because the ground will be very, very hard. But for wet season, there is no need to use any other instrument. Just get something like this, carve out a stick, but it should be very straight, carve the tip, and there you go. So that is it.
Hello everyone, it's another planting season again. Like you can see, we've already started planting our yams, this time in heaps. I want to show us something that is very, very important to get very good yield. In one of our previous videos, I've talked about staking and how to stake well in order to achieve your purpose. I love to grow very large tubers of yams. And one of the ways I achieve that is to use very long sticks for staking. And the most important stick I use to achieve that is very common in my area is the bamboo stick. As you can see, this is a very long stick. The minimum I like to use is about 12 feet above the ground. And this is an example of it. But sometimes it is usually very difficult to get bamboos as long as 12 feet. But I must have to achieve that 12 feet minimum. The range is basically about 12 feet to about 14 feet above the ground. That has been giving me my very, very good yield, and I would want you to try that. Although some persons don't believe in staking, but for me, it has really, really worked. In this video, I'm going to show you 5 unique ways, minimum, that you are going to use to achieve this same amount of length of bamboo, even if you don't have the ones that are as long as this. So just sit right back and see us do what we know best to do.
Before we begin, I'll run us through a few things that we will need for this adventure. Of course, we know we need our bamboo stick for the staking, a hacksaw with a brand new blade, very important. You need a pair of pliers. You need hammer, and of course a few nails. We'll be telling us what we need them for. Now there's this unique instrument I love to use. It's locally made. It is used for digging the stake hole. The reason why we need this now is because the ground is still dry. But if it were to be in the wet season, I have uploaded a video on how to make stake holes very easily. Now the average depth of my stake hole is usually 2 feet. With that, I'm sure my stake will be very, very strong and be able to carry the weight. And just to quickly add, if I have a long stake like this, it can take about 4 heaps of yam. Sometimes I do more than that, but at least an average of about 4 heaps of yams. So that's what I do. Now this is going to be our standard, basically, because it meets the 12 feet height. Every other thing we're going to be doing, we try as much as possible compare with this. Like I said, I'm going to show us 5 basic methods. I have dug a hole here. I'll be using this one. Now, one of the things you must ensure when you are using bamboos for staking is to make sure that it has these projections. They help you to retain the vine so that they will not collapse. But there are sometimes you may not have this. Will show us what to do. So this is my stake hole, 2 feet down. This is my stake now. I'm about 6 feet tall, so you still have about 4 feet. It has not met the standard. What I will do is to extend. And how do we extend? That's exactly what we are going to be seeing today. Take note, the key is what I want to show you now. Bamboos are usually segmented. That's the way they are naturally. But you have holes in them. Now, for every segment, you can actually introduce yourself into the hole by removing that cap. For example, this is a segment. Of course, you have a hole here. So, but if you see the length of this hole is too small. So what I will do is to just cut off this place so that I will have this up to 1 foot or even more than 1 foot hollow that I can introduce anything I want to use to extend. So it's this hollow that is the key, which is what I have done with something like this. You just be wondering, what am I doing with these short bamboos? I'm going to be joining them together severally in order for me to achieve my purpose. So for this, the first we are going to be looking at is how to make this to get to this. I have two options. It's either I use a bamboo to complete it or something else. So this is what I'm going to do. Just watch carefully. I have something like this. You'll be wondering, what am I doing with this one? With this, you can achieve a lot with staking. So these are some of the branches from shrubs in your farm. They are not wasted. So if you see that the diameter is smaller than the hollow of the bamboo, so what we are going to do is this. We just take this and introduce it to the hole. Nice and easy. So I will take this and now introduce into my stake hole. So let's compare with the standard. You can see that I'm almost there, or I'm there. So you can see that the whole length is over 12 feet above the ground already. This is fantastic for me to stake. So with my 4 heaps coming to this one stake, and once they get there, the whole canopy around that shrub there. So this is a way you can extend. This is method number 1. If you have bamboo that is as long as 10 feet, you can extend it further. All right, that is one. You can do that. Still, the method number 1. You can just, if you don't have that kind of shrub, you can get something like this. It's as tiny as it, but it's very strong. It can carry your vines. All you need to do is to introduce this into this place. So it has increased the length. You do the same. This is still number 1.
My number 2 method, I could have something like this. It's very short, about 3 feet, but it's a very, I got them from remnants from building sites. But it's something that I can actually use to extend my stakes. I'll just put this into the stake hole. I already have something like this that is not as long as I would expect. So this is short. I'll just get this. As far as this place is smaller than the inner diameter, so I will just put it in there. So as you can see, it's already meeting the standard. I have this tiny one. I have something as short as this. So this is not a waste. And one thing you must understand, that the strength of this one is more than that of this. If any bamboo is going to break during your staking period, it's usually at that point where it is making contact with the soil. That's usually the weak point. So if you have something that is strong and you now have something like this, it is a win-win situation for you. Please take note. If you see this, I did not remove the branches. Those branches, they are actually very, very useful. So take note of that. If you ever want to use bamboo for staking, use the ones that have branches. The more the branches, the better for you. So this is my method number 2. All right. My method number 3 is using bamboo that you have used the previous season. Now, this is a bamboo stick I've used for staking the previous season. I'm going to use it this time again. But what I'm going to do is to reinforce it. Ideally, if you want to use bamboo that you have used the previous season, because the strength has been reduced compared to what the new ones will give you, you are supposed to double it. But I won't want to double it because it will waste my chance of having to have one extra bamboo. So what I'm doing, this short one, I'll just put it inside the stake hole and use it to extend this one. Now, the good thing is that the new one, the fresh one, will be making contact with the soil. So it's still strong, because that is the weak link, the point where it can easily break. Because this one is already too weak, if I use it, it may break before the end of the season. So I'd rather just reinforce it this way. It's very unlikely going to break from here because it's not making any contact with the soil really. So this doubling will help to reinforce this. So this is the way I use my bamboo that I've used the previous season. But there, I want to sound a note of caution. Don't use one bamboo more than 2 seasons. It will be too weak to stay through the 3rd season. So what you need to do is to, after the 2nd season, just burn them and turn them to biochar for something else in your farm. So this is what I do for my old bamboos. Okay guys, my number 4 is this. I have this fantastic bamboo here. Although it's not up to the length, I'll still have to extend it, but there's something I want to quickly just bring to our notice still regarding this staking. Sometimes we get bamboo from leftovers, from building sites and all that. Those bamboos are usually devoid of the projections. But you need those projections to be able to support your vines when you are staking. If you just use this like this, even if you extend to an extent, there is an extent the vines will get to, because the bamboo, this body of the bamboo is slippery, they will just collapse. I'm sure some persons would have experienced that. One of the ways you prevent that is to introduce those projections yourself. 2 or 3 is good enough so that they can help you anchor your vines. So what I do to achieve that is to use my nails. So I'm envisaging that the vines will start climbing from here. So all I will just do is to just introduce this nail here. 1, at least to be able to carry the vine. The opposite side, I'll introduce another one some feet away from the ones I did before. I do this, that's 2. You could just do this, or you may decide to just extend further. So you see, by doing this, you have your 3 projections already, simulating what you had from the projections from other ones that we have done. So you can now decide to extend to get your desired. So I'm using something like this, which is just a stick, but it is strong because it's from a very strong tree, guava tree. So you see that even these things are very useful in your farm. So I'll just introduce, and you see, I've been able to achieve my height, the standard height. So this is my secret number 4. All right, guys, before I go to my secret number 5, there's something I want to quickly show you. What you can do for the heap is what you will still do for bags, basically. I want to just show us something very, very unique. There's a slight modification when you are staking for bags in terms of the height of your bamboo or whatever staking method you are using. Please take note that these bags, they are already above the ground, a minimum of about 2 feet above the ground. So if you are going to stake, try as much as possible and compensate for that 2 feet. If I'm using 12 feet for my yams in the heap, I will use 14 feet for my yams in bags. Like you can see, these ones are very, very long because I've extended them and they are long. I'm using even branched shrubs and all that to combine with bamboo. This is going to do very, very well because I've already compensated for the height. So the longer your stakes, even in bags, the better for your yams in bag. Because the in thing now, we all know that we can get yams from the bag. I think we have gone past that. We have gone past the euphoria of having to farm yams in bags and all that. What we should be aiming at now, how large is the yams that you are getting from the bag? We have many modifications that we can do to achieve that. I've uploaded videos on 10 top secrets of growing large tubers of yam from the bag. There are still more secrets I will be unraveling with time. But I want you to understand that you should try as much as possible to put all of them together to achieve your purpose. There are a lot of things we'll learn later. So let's go to our number 5. So guys, I'm so glad you made it to this last point of this video. I'm excited because what you are going to hear now, I'm not sure you've heard it before now. Right now, this is what I want to use to stake. It looks very, very short, but the interesting thing about this bamboo you are seeing is that it's just freshly acquired, and I intend to use it to stake. But there is one note of caution I want to sound. If you just use it to stake directly like this, it will germinate because I just removed it. Ideally, once you harvest bamboo for staking, you leave it for about 2 weeks so that they will just dry out. But there are times where time might just be against you and you will need to use fresh bamboo, or you just need to use bamboo to stake. Your yams are already ready to be staked and you need to stake them. You can still use fresh bamboo, but you must do something to make sure that they don't germinate. If not, they will just germinate all over your farm. So what you do is to make sure that these segments, they are the places where roots will come out from, and that's where they normally germinate from. This segment, this segment, and that. So just take a measurement and see the segment that will make contact with the soil, whether 1 or 2. Anything that is inside the hole and will make contact with the soil, you must shave them away, which is what I want to do now. So this point, you just remove. You've removed this, but make sure you remove it round so that any point where the roots will germinate from, you've already taken note of them. Sometimes you might have to remove this if it's also making contact with the soil. But for me now, it's not making any contact. So this one won't make any contact with the soil. But to be on the safe side, I'll just still remove it. All right, so finally you see that all the segments have already removed any form of row, so I can easily now use this for staking. I'll just use it. It's very short. I will extend it like we usually do. I will extend it to achieve what I want to achieve. All right, it's still very short, so I can still extend it. So I have something else like this. I love this. They are all branched off, so I will extend it. So you can see that this method is very unique. Even if you have little combinations, you can extend them. All right. So you see, we've met our standard. Now, there is something interesting you will need to take note of. Sometimes when you are extending this place, you might just experience some slit of where you are introducing your extension into. During the rainy season, when there will be wind, there may be force that would break that place. That is why I introduced something else. So this is my binding wire. I will just take it around this edge. The reason why I'm doing this is to make sure that if there is any split there, with time, it doesn't make my stake to fail. So I will just tie it. So no matter the wind now, I'm very certain that this stake will go through the season. All right. So this is the reason for my plier. So you can see now that it's tight. So we've been able to achieve this, the height that we require. Guys, for you to be able to maximize yield from your farm, yam farming, staking is very key. But I want to hear your opinion. For those who have experience with this, for me, this is what has been working for me. We want to demonstrate how we can apply fertilizer to our yams. We know that yam is a very, very crucial staple food, especially in this part of our world. It is important to increase yield, and the way to achieve that is to always feed the crop so that the crop can come out well. There are two major fertilizers, the organic and the inorganic. So we're going to be demonstrating how we can apply both today. This is my NPK fertilizer, as you can see, and it is inorganic fertilizer. So we'll just be demonstrating how we apply them around the heap of your yams so that it will increase production. We've already planted here, but they've not started growing. So I'm going to demonstrate. All you need to do is to just look for 3 points around the heaps. You just put holes, about 3 points basically, then here. So what you do is to just apply your NPK fertilizer and you cover the holes. They will be there available for the crop when it's growing. What I'm doing is just a little quantity. Some persons will just take a handful and just apply. You put a little quantity here, a little quantity there, and here. That's just all. And of course, you just cover. What that means is that when it rains, it helps to spread the fertilizer all around, and once the yam grows, the roots are going to be directed towards that way, and they will pick up the nutrient. That's for the inorganic application. For the organic application, we have several options. This is my poultry dropping that has stayed for quite some time, so is free of acidity now. So for some of us that are familiar with it, will say it's already cured. Now, some persons use pig manure, some use cow dung, goat droppings and all that. Well, for me, I prefer very well the poultry manure, especially the ones that has wood shavings in. The reason for that is because wood shavings plus the poultry dropping helps to create formation of fungi that can assist in the formation of mycorrhiza. Mycorrhiza is actually the relationship between plant roots and the fungi that grow in the poultry dropping. So having wood shavings enables the fungi to actually grow very, very fast. So, but when we apply, this is the way we go about it. You just take quantity and spread them around the base. Spread them around the base of the heap. You don't put them on top of it. You just spread them around. The reason is very, very simple. The pattern of growth of the roots of the yam is radially. It's always going away from the point you planted, where the vine is going to grow. So they will always go down and go tap nutrient from there. So you can plant here and your root can even get as far as this. Interestingly, once they sense the presence of the poultry droppings, they will always go there and form this relationship, which is called mycorrhiza, with the
fungi that are embedded inside the poultry dropping. That is why I prefer that a lot. So don't bother about even covering the poultry dropping that you are putting around the base. The reason is simple. Once it rains, some of this soil will wash down and end up burying those poultry manure you have put around the base, and that solves your problem, so you are not worried. Some persons usually apply around the growing vines, something like this. It is very, very wrong, because two things. This is supposed to help us intermingle with the roots, and of course we know that the roots are going to grow down there, so it's better to always put around the base, not around the vine. And another disadvantage with putting around the vine, sometimes this poultry manure, you don't know how cured they are. They may still be very, very toxic, so you're putting around the vine will lead to burning the roots and of course around the base of the vine, which is very, very dangerous. So it's always advisable to put around your base, as I've demonstrated. So if you want to do the second, you just continue like this around the base. This is how to apply poultry manure around your yam heaps. I've already showed us how to apply the inorganic fertilizer. There are different kinds of inorganic fertilizer, but the basic ones that is advisable to use for yams, NPK 15-15-15, which is what we have used. And of course, poultry droppings with wood shavings for your inorganic. Other options are pig droppings, cow dung, goat droppings, and any other organic manure that you think you can apply. So with this, I'm sure of the fertility of the soil and the increase in productivity of my yams.